In today's video, we're going to take and winterize the Wright Stander B. And we're going to change the oil in it today and sharpen the blades and clean the filter. I've already put fuel stabilizer in the fuel and ran it for a while and ran it through the carburetor. I don't run ethanol in my gas, so I don't need to worry about ethanol destroying the carburetors. So I'm okay with just putting fuel stabilizer in it for the short winter that we have here. So the first thing we want to do is, I have a pan here, but it doesn't quite fit underneath the deck, so I'm going to jack this up and give me a little bit more room. Now they make a stand for this, but just a floor jack and a 2x4 works fine. I've never had any problems. The parts on the Wrights are plenty strong to handle it. We'll just jack this up here. And the drain for the oil is right here. And if I recall, there's a wrench. Let me get a wrench and put on that. Okay, so it's a 10 millimeter, or you can get in there, I guess, with a screwdriver, but it'd have to be a stubby screwdriver to get in there. So what I do is crack this open, and it makes a big mess. Make sure your pan is all the way under. Probably a socket here would work better, but that's what we have at the moment. That's what I'm working with. Just taking back this out, and you don't have to take it all the way out. And we have oil coming down, and it's landing in the pan, so that's good. Just loosen it up and let it drain. Okay, so while that's draining, we'll take the filter off. Filter's here, come in here with a oil filter wrench. I have a socket, but it doesn't seem to work too well on these. And this will make a giant mess, so have your rags ready. The motor that's on this particular mower is this Kawasaki FS651V, and it uses the 49065-0721 filter from Kawasaki. I'm sure there's other ones that fit, but why not just buy the one that is recommended? They usually sell them in kits online. We'll take and put a light coat of oil on here. Go ahead and put some oil in there to soak the filter, just enough to that it doesn't run out when you tip it over. And you don't need to tighten these too tight. They're just hand tightened. You don't want to crush the O-ring that's on there too much. So just hand tighten them, and then I'll take and put a mark on here. That way I can keep an eye on it in case it were to back off. It's a visual indicator that you can see it. Okay, so I couldn't find white, so I'll just use yellow here. Line it up with the mark that I already have there. And that way, if this were to start to back off, I can easily see it. We'll clean this oil up here, that way it doesn't collect dirt. I've noticed my reservoir tanks here, especially when it's cold, they've been towards the bottom, so I'm going to add a splash of of hydro oil to this. They're not really leaking. I think it's just when I filled them up the last time, I didn't fill them up all the way. And for those, I run the X-Mart hydro oil. It's the only thing I can source locally here, so it works. I've run this in here for an entire season, no issues whatsoever. Since my mower, I don't run it commercially. I use it residential. I'll change this oil out every 2 years, so I changed it last year. So I'll make another video when it's time to change this out next year. So it's not that hard to do. There we go. That's better. So let's take a look at the filter. Well, it's still draining. The oil's still draining. So anyway, so it looks a little dirty. Picked up some dust here. If you were running this commercially, I would just get a new filter. I usually just clean it out with the air hose. I replaced it last season, so I'll run 2 seasons on this. You can see it's still pretty clean. If you were running this, all day long, that's a different story. But I think we had a pretty dry year this year. I think I only mowed the grass like, I don't know, 10 times all season, so it's really not enough to warrant buying a whole new filter for it. So I'll take and clean this up and blow it out with the air hose. Okay, so if you were to have to put a new filter on it, here's the Kawasaki part number. It's a 11013-0752 for this particular motor. And we'll just take and stick her back on here. Tighten her down, and that's it. I think the oil stopped draining at this point, so I can close up the drain valve. I think that's on, and take and fill her up with oil. So I like to run the recommended Kawasaki oil, and the only reason I do that is first, it's synthetic blend, but it also contains zinc. If you know anything about tribology, zinc is good for wear properties, and a lot of the oils they don't come right out and say if they have zinc in them, so it's not exactly clear a lot of times the level of zinc that's in it. So I just run the recommended. It's not that much more. Okay, so we added the 2 1/4 quarts, and I gave it a quick start up just to make sure that there's no oil in here that's coming out of the filter or down here. So I'll take and clean this up a little bit more. Still a little bit of an oil residue left there, so make sure it's all clean so you can keep a close eye on it. So we got it jacked up here. Next we'll put some jack stands underneath of it, since we're going to be working underneath to sharpen the mower blades. Pulling them off, I like to put my jack stands here underneath the deck itself. That seems to work pretty good. There's not much moving on this, so if the jack were to give out, it's not a big deal. One here. One there, It's good to go. Okay, so here we are underneath. You're going to need a pretty stout 24 millimeter socket to put on there. Well, we got the wrenches out. You can see here, this summer I bent this bolt here in the front. So pull that off, see if we can straighten it. If not, I'll have to go get a new one. Well, you can see how badly that's bent. Going by memory, I think I hit a stump or something. I don't remember exactly what I hit, but I bent it pretty good. Let's see if we can bend it back. I don't know. Just chewed up here pretty bad. It might be salvageable. I don't know. It's not a critical part, so. Okay, this is what I got to put my socket on here and an extension just to reach up to this bar here. You can see the bow, and I'm just going to use my digging iron here. See if I can bend this down here, and let's see how I bend anything else there. Still got some bending to it. Let's keep going here. Okay, so for what it does, it just has those guide wheels on there. That's pretty straight. So what I'll do is put some grease on here, put the wheels back on, and that should be good enough. One other thing you can do to wrap all this up, you could probably put a trickle charger on the battery. I have a charger, and what I'll do is midwinter I'll just put it on, charge it back up. But a trickle charger will save your battery, especially on a cold, long winter. Other than that, there really isn't much else to do on here. There's no lubrication points. When I had it jacked up, I checked the wheels, make sure they spin clearly, and last year I greased these here, so they're good this year. So next year I'll grease those. Other than that, I think this is a wrap, so everything's good here.